howdy.
Well, hi, friends. Well, from traditionally mucky Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, boy howdy, have we got something to talk about with this just wonderful HBO series. We're here. It's a show that follows three drag queens through small town America, right?
Yeah.
And
in the fine tradition of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, or Tu Wong Fu, for those of you who remember that far back.
Indeed. And so, but it's a reality TV version of that. And they came to Utah. Yeah. So we're going to talk about that episode and how well the Mormons came off.
Yeah.
Which I think just seemed like such a warm and welcoming community. Hopefully you can hear the sarcasm in my voice. But first, Dan, we've got some stories to talk about, don't we?
Yes, indeed.
Some things that happen in the world. This is one from here in Utah, Dan. Down in Provo, having to do with a homeless man by the name of Louis Charles Aden Zamora Jr., who was arrested this last Tuesday night after he was caught on surveillance footage at the Provo, or one of the two Provo temples.
This was the downtown
of the Church
Provo
of
one.
Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yes, the downtown one.
Which didn't used to be a temple. It used to just be a little assembly hall thing.
Yeah, that's true. It was a tabernacle. It was a Mormon tabernacle. And the thing with Mormon tabernacles, which they used to build a lot of here in Utah, they don't know what to do with them anymore. It's kind of a funny thing. And so anyway, it was this really nice, it was actually a pretty cool space for community events back in the day.
Yeah.
I went to a number of just community concerts that were there. They would host anything that was it wasn't, bawdy or whatever.
Right. But usually it was very Mormon-y because everyone down there is Mormon. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But nonetheless, they converted it to a temple after it burned down. And anyway, Zamora was cold, and he broke in to stay warm. That's the building he picked. He broke
it being winter.
Yeah, it being really cold. And of course, there probably not being sufficient homeless resources in Provo, as there are not sufficient resources seemingly anywhere in this country. And, he broke a stained glass window, reached through, opened the door from the inside, and they're kind of taking him at his word because they didn't find, there was no other damage. And there was no there was nothing missing except one bottle of water, apparently, that he admits to taking. And he says it was cold and he did not want to be on the street. Well, let me tell you, the church is making sure they are pressing charges. It is a 3rd degree, criminal mischief charge.
Oh my God.
And he was already on probation. So, back to prison for him, I'm sure.
Well,
this is obviously going to be a violation of probation. So
it's such a bullshit, literally the mandate from Jesus himself, whose name is in the title of their church.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Clothe the naked, feed the hungry, shelter the people. It's pretty much their main job,
right,
as a quasi-Christian organization. And boy, are they failing at it.
Because if they want to build these really ridiculous over the top temples, right? That's fine. Yeah. They've got the money to do it, right? Yeah. If, as you say and point out, where they're lacking, if they also actually, followed the instructions of Jesus, right?
Yeah.
If they actually were clothing the the clothless and housing the homeless and whatnot. Like yes, they've got so much money, so much ridiculous money. They could, as an organization, single-handedly solve the homelessness problem in the state of Utah.
Yeah.
Like, no question.
They have so much money, they could solve homelessness in the world.
You're probably right. You're actually, no, you are right.
I think I saw that as a figure, like somebody came up with a figure for how much it would cost to solve homelessness worldwide. And it was less than $100 billion. It was like $50 billion or something.
Yeah, they could then.
It was enough that like literally the church could become, the Mormons could become the church that ended homelessness worldwide.
Yeah.
If they wanted to. That would be, can you imagine the PR?
Oh my God. People would be like, no, wait a second. Who are these people? Maybe I had them wrong. Maybe I had the Mormons wrong. Yeah.
Right? But instead they are the church that makes sure that everyone is punished properly.
Yeah.
For warming up.
Yeah. I mean, it's disgusting to me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it is breaking and entering, and there was property damage. They could easily argue for a less of a penalty, or decide to not press charges. Yeah, exactly.
Just understand that someone was cold.
Yeah.
And like, maybe you know what? Build a building and put some warmth in there. Bottles of water.
No kidding.
Anyway,
that's not, well, from their perspective, it would not be that much money.
No, it would be a drop in the bucket. They wouldn't even notice. That is less than a rounding error in that church.
Yeah.
Not that they would ever make a rounding error. All right. Well, I'm going to take us to South Dakota, where the legislature is, the state legislature has taken, they're starting their session or whatever. And apparently a couple of Republican lawmakers decided to take it into their hands to make sure that it was properly Jesused up before they started their session. They went in and they anointed several of the chairs in the Capitol building, in the meeting room. What do you call it?
In the legislature?
I guess this
chambers?
was just in a Capitol meeting room.
Okay.
And they anointed them with oil, marked them with little crosses of oil.
Oh, God.
Now, I don't know if you know this, but furniture doesn't always respond well to oil.
Oh, no.
That's not always a great thing for furniture. So yeah, it apparently took 3 hours. It took multiple workers 3 hours to clean the chairs up after they got oiled, which of course led to a big
defiled.
Yeah, it was vandalism.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has led to a new policy where they basically
do not anoint
all the legislators. You're not allowed to. Here's what it is. You can't Jesus up the place. You have to call maintenance and have them do the Jesusing for you.
If you want the chairs anointed, have the staff do it.
Yeah, they're probably not going to anoint chairs. They'll draw the line there. But if you want, like, literally the example given is that if you want a cross hung in your office, which probably shouldn't be allowed, but it is, then have maintenance come in and pound the nail in, because they know what they're doing and you don't. You stupid Christian idiot.
Well, you just don't want holes everywhere in the walls, right? Like, that makes sense. That's a great policy. That policy should exist outside of trying to figure out what to do with the Christian crosses.
Yeah.
And how they...
Well, I mean, I'm sure that it applies basically now across the board. If you're going to touch the people's building or the people's chair, like, you don't own those chairs. The people of South Dakota paid for all of that.
Yeah.
Have a little respect.
They were, Dan.
But of course,
that
none
was
of
so
this
much
is about-
respect.
Oh, right.
That's
None
how
of
they
this is
show
about,
theirs.
the impropriety of injecting your Christianity into
Right.
politics. But we do that.
All right. Well, Dan, I have a little story coming out of Richmond, Virginia, dealing with a restaurant there that recently took a reservation from a group called the Family Foundation. And
Red flags just went off in my head so fast when you said that.
Well, after they accepted the reservation, they canceled. Somebody decided to cancel it because the Family Foundation is a nonprofit that uses the Bible to justify denying women and gay people their civil rights, or at least advocating for that at least.
Like you do.
So, a good Christian hate group. That's right. That's what they are. And so the good folks at Metzger Bar and Butchery canceled it. And
Nice.
they wrote in an Instagram post. They sort of described the group like I just did. And they say, "We have always refused service to anyone for making our staff feel uncomfortable or unsafe. And this was the driving force behind our decision. All of our staff are people with rights who deserve dignity and a safe work environment."
Wow.
And they go on and they have a little donation that they're going to be giving to an LGBTQ plus advocacy group, Equality Virginia. And the Family Foundation, of course, took offense, and they posted onto their group blog. Let's see. "We've been canceled again." And this is what they had to say. Let's just stay calm while I read what they have to say.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for the warning.
Let's all find it within ourselves to
hear them out.
To just somehow get through it. Okay.
Okay.
"Welcome to the 21st century," they say, "where people who likely consider themselves progressives attempt to recreate an environment from the 1950s and early 60s when people were denied food service due to their race. Thankfully, in 1960, 34 brave Virginia Union University students held a peaceful lunch counter sit-in at Talamer's department store in Richmond to demand service at a whites-only counter." Let's see. They decried the quote double standard of the left, where some believe Jack Phillips, that's the owner of the Colorado bakery in the middle of the Masterpiece cake shop case,
Right.
Must be forced to create a wedding cake as part of the celebration of a same-sex ceremony, but any business should be able to deny basic goods and services to those who hold biblical values around marriage. Okay, all right.
It's very funny to me. I do think that there's a problem probably with this with this restaurant. Like, I think that they have a point. If we're going to say, these cake shop owners can't turn away business because somebody's gay, I think you might have a point. You might, as a restaurant, you might not be able. Maybe you shouldn't be able to turn away business because, the group themselves is hateful, and you have to wait until they actually say something hateful to your your staff before you can actually get rid of them. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, the article that I am using for this, right, points out that, the Washington Post spoke to a professor at the University of Texas by the name of Elizabeth Sepper, who says that the restaurant's decision wasn't based on the Family Foundation's Christian religion, right? So they're not discriminating against religion. It was based on the group's specific human rights positions. So yes, it is illegal to discriminate based on religion alone, but in this case, it's about the overall positions and policies the group has taken. So as far as like legal standing, legal position, it's very arguably different, right? But
and
I do kind of hear what you're saying, which is I have concern about businesses starting to become so politicized in the culture war, right? And being brought into the culture wars over these issues.
We're going to be getting a lot of emails about this one, I can tell.
Yeah, probably. But nonetheless,
and part of the person that you just quoted now has me thinking a little differently. Is that like ideologies, political ideologies that are sort of hateful or whatever, that's not protected.
Right.
The way LGBTQ, orientation, all of that stuff is protected for good reason. So I'm now thinking that I'm wrong and that they should be able to turn them away because I would want a restaurant to be able to turn away a Nazi group.
Absolutely.
And I don't see how that's any different.
Right. No, and I think that's the whole point of this, right? Is that there is something very, very different. I don't trust people like the Family Foundation and all the people who agree with them and are on their political side to even remotely start to understand that difference. While they might be completely wrong, and while they might be on absolutely no legal standing and just basic morality and decency and understanding privilege and so forth and so on, right? Understanding the differences between these issues. Just because of all of that, I still don't think that this should be something that is weaponized too much. I think that, yes, this one really made sense because this is a really nasty, hateful group, right?
Right.
They are a hate group, and I think they should have been denied service. But boy, it just, that they're going to be out there just testing and baiting, right? Yeah. They're going to like they need to, there are plenty of restaurants owned by Christian bigots, right?
Yeah.
But they're not, they'll go to those, but they're going to make sure that they continue to just get canceled so that they can make hay out of it.
Yeah, this played right into their hands. This is exactly the kind of thing that they want to have happen so that they can cry persecution, so that they can continue their narrative of look at how the left hates Christianity and whatever. And that's exactly what they want.
How can we beat them? How do you take this scenario and don't feed into it, right? Could you, I don't know, maybe take the reservation and just somehow make it, once they're there, so uncomfortable for them because of how accepting and how you are of your staff, not necessarily of them and their stance, right? But how wonderful and of an environment for people with differences to be there.
Right.
Right. Which is totally counter to what these people stand for. Right.
Right.
They would hate it.
You're absolutely right. The smarter tack here is to keep the reservation, but change the name of every menu item that you have to something gay.
Yes, absolutely. Make them so uncomfortable and make them walk out. Right.
Yeah. Make it and then you have the upper hand in the PR wars.
Right. I make them have to order the I love gay people,
right.
chicken Caesar salad. Right. And if they just order, I'll have the chicken Caesar salad. I'm sorry, which one? Have two chicken Caesar salads. Right. So they have to say, yes, I agree with the idea of gender neutral bathrooms, chicken Caesar salad.
Right.
Or I love gay people.
I'll have
chicken
the
Caesar salad.
We're here, we're queer, give me a beer.
Torture them. Take the opportunity. Yeah. But I also, if your organization does not want to do that, send them packing.
But I do like the idea of let's be a little more strategic about it if we can think of ways to do that. That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're going to be talking about, sort of drag as a cultural flashpoint later in the show, but I'm going to provide us with a few points of context for that right now, because I've came across so many stories just this week about people hating on drag and pursuing the right is definitely pursuing this idea that drag shows are somehow grooming kids to be queer and queerness is somehow grooming kids to be pedophiles or to be assaulted by pedophiles. It's a whole bunch of nonsense. And really, it's getting very scary out there. So in Florida over the last weekend, a bunch of people from a group called NatSoc Florida, which presumably stands for National Socialism Florida, which is not socialism, that's Nazism, for anyone who didn't catch it. They came out to gather outside a celebration of the arts event in Lakeland, Florida, to protest a drag show. So that's cute and fun. They had Nazi flags and signs that read things like "Drag queens are pedophiles with AIDS."
Oh, Jesus.
They were photographed giving a Nazi salute. So that's all cute. Another episode in Columbus, Ohio, where a bunch of right-wing groups just showed up at a Unitarian Universalist church, where there was just going to be a drag story hour. It was just a drag queen reading in a fun way to the kids, as we've always talked about.
Right.
And they showed up with the Proud Boys showed up, and a group called Patriot Front, which is a white nationalist group. And they had White Lives Matter was a group that showed up. They gave Nazi salutes. They waved Christian flags, just to be absolutely clear that they don't want themselves extricated from their religion. They don't want this to seem separate. This is literally hand in hand, part and parcel with their religion.
Right.
And I just got to say, like, and the other one was in North Carolina, where, there was some outrage about some drag show that was going to be happening, and coincidentally, so there were protests planned and all this stuff. These ones, the drag show that I just the story hour was canceled because it was just too dangerous. Jesus. Literally, when people are showing up with guns, you don't feel safe taking your kids to hear a damn story. And in North Carolina, they the people putting on the drag show decided to persist, bravely pushed forward with it. And suddenly the power went out to the whole county.
Oh,
Now the police have not established a link between the two events, but we do know that the reason that the power went out to the county was that someone went and literally shot with a gun the power transformers in multiple places.
Yeah.
They literally left the entire county with tens of thousands of people were without power for days because of this.
Because that's better than children being read to.
Well, in this case, better than adults performing for other adults.
Oh, this one. Oh, that's right. That was, yeah.
So this is the level of hysteria that the far right assholes are whipping their followers into. They are literally terrifying them so much that they are now out in force frequently with guns. These are terrorist organizations. Make no mistake about it.
Absolutely.
All of these organizations, Proud Boys are literally, so many of them have been convicted of basically a terrorist thing. It should be terrorism. I don't know why nobody's been charged. You know, the Oath Keepers, which is kind of a little sister organization to the Proud Boys, have been convicted of seditious conspiracy.
Right.
And yet these groups seem to be on the rise, and they are targeting the LGBTQ people among us. So
it's terrifying.
Protect your queer people.
Yeah.
Out there.
Keep them close. I just listen to any story about Nazis on the rise, and I'm just like, they clearly watched different movies from me as a child, right? Like, were they rooting against Indiana Jones? Like, what?
Right.
Anyway.
Oh man, when I was choosing the audio to play for later in the show, I had to get past. Again, we could have Kanye and Nick Fuentes over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Talking about, Fuentes talking about how kids, they see these Nazis and it just looks cool.
No.
And I'm like,
no, it doesn't.
What?
No, it doesn't.
What looks cool?
All right, Dan, back here to our neck of the woods, this time down along the Utah-Arizona border. Anybody familiar with the area knows that's never a good thing, because that's where the polygamists like to hang out, down in Colorado City. Arizona took care of some business this last week, or actually, yeah, it's sort of an ongoing story. Like, people have been being arrested and whatnot since, it sounds like back in August, really.
Oh.
But now, like, a lot of the stories starting to come out about one Mr. Samuel Bateman, who proclaimed himself a prophet in 2019. It's an offshoot group of the, I was going to say the Federated Church of Jesus Christ, the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He was at one time one of the most trusted followers of Warren Jeffs. That name doesn't mean anything to you. He's the prophet, seer, and revelator of the FLDS, and is serving time.
And just a peach of a guy.
Oh, yeah. Polygamist, raped kids, what have you. He's in prison. And Sam, let's see, what was his name? Yeah, Samuel Bateman. He's going to be maybe not joining him in person, but definitely in spirit, in prison. The charges against this man, deserve a massive trigger warning. Skip ahead 5 minutes, people, if you need to. Let's see. How much of this do I even want to really talk about? I guess he was, okay, so let's just get how he was first arrested. Someone on the highway spotted small fingers in the gap of a trailer he was hauling through Flagstaff. When police pulled him over, they found 3 girls between 11 and 14 in a makeshift room in the unventilated trailer, sticking their fingers out of cracks. So yeah, that's great.
Just trying to signal for help,
or trying to keep gaps open so they could breathe. I mean,
Jesus.
Let's see. Back before he declared himself a prophet, he tried to take his only daughter as a wife, but the daughter told her mother about his plan, and they both escaped and got a restraining order against Bateman. The mother was Bateman's only wife at the time, and after that, he was like, "Well, time to get going. Let's collect up some wives." I think
that was actually careless of him. He should have planned better.
Yeah, but his sister, Alice Barlow, she defends him. She says that the community is supportive, children are happy, and wives consider each other sisters. She said that her brother is a sweet, gentle spirit who teaches that forgiveness and repentance are within reach. What they're trying to do is annihilate a religion, she told the media.
Oh, yeah.
Samuel is a prophet and a savior in this world. He hasn't done wrong. They've got to realize that God will defend his prophet. Okay, let's see it.
Yeah.
Let's see God
Whip it out.
defend his prophet.
Whip out your God who would defend these behaviors.
Because
and let's see how that looks.
Didn't work for Warren Jeffs. Didn't work for any number of other of these polygamists who've, sadly, way too small of a number of these polygamists who've actually been brought to justice. But yeah, this is the next big polygamy story. It's starting to unfold now, and it is disgusting.
Yeah, not great.
And but, and here's the deal, that I truly sincerely believe a more accurate version of Mormonism, as practiced by Brigham Young, right, and Joseph Smith, than what you would see the mainstream church doing today. So,
you're right to point out that this is not how the church that you and I grow up in do business.
No.
Now.
Right.
But it is how they used to do business.
Yeah.
And this guy might be the proper heir to Brigham and Joseph's throne.
I think it's worth pointing out, especially in a city where, we have a statue of Brigham Young downtown.
Yeah.
It used to be on public property. Now, I guess it is technically over on church property, isn't it? Or no, actually, I think it is still on public property. It's just sort of...
Oh, yeah, that's a little tricky. I'm not sure.
Because I think you can get away with more sort of free speech stuff right in the immediate vicinity of the Brigham Young statue. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But, yeah, I might be wrong. I would love to know if somebody knows.
Oh boy. Well, there you go. Mormonism has it has a dark side that is just to the south. I'm going to close this off with a lovely Christmas message. It is 'tis the season. There's lots of people are lighting their trees and putting a manger somewhere in their decorative world. And no different is the Pope.
Oh.
For St. Peter's Square is now lit up with a beautiful, huge spruce.
Oh, yeah.
Lit top to toe, of course.
Yeah.
And literally, the Pope has a lovely message to go with it.
Oh,
which is, he said, if we truly seek to celebrate Christmas, we rediscover through the nativity scene, because there's also a little nativity scene. There's a tree and then there's a little nativity scene. We rediscover through the nativity scene the shock and surprise of the smallness of God, who makes himself small, who isn't born in the pomp of appearance, but in the poverty of a manger. Well, okay there, Popey. That's great.
Surrounded by palaces.
Literally just,
oh, wait.
Yeah, I was literally just in Rome, in St. Peter's Square, at St. Peter's Basilica, and it ain't small. The smallness, you guys may have missed that message in previous in previous years, because whoo doggy, it is like with the exception of the Vatican museums, which are embarrassingly bad. Yeah. The St. Paul's, like the Basilica, the square, that's called opulence. That's called conspicuous opulence.
How dare you, Dan? I've seen the nativity that you are describing, and it is not large.
No, it's not. It itself is not that fancy. It's not. It even pales by comparison to the shitty thing that the Mormons used to do on Temple Square every year. But It's the message that's important here, Frank. And that message is, we as a church are about as far from Jesus as you can possibly get.
And we built these
But we
buildings
don't see it.
to make you feel small. You walk into St. Peter's, that building makes you feel small.
It
Right.
is. It is enormous. I've seen lots and lots of like Catholic cathedrals, basilicas, that what have you. St. Peter's is huge.
It's shocking. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you look up and you're like, I mean, there could be a weather system in there, right? Like,
I'm sure there is. There are so many like
clouds form in the
passageways and
rafters.
stuff. Yeah. Oh my God. It's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Well, if you have anything you'd like to say about the smallness of the Christian God, I can't imagine why any of our listeners would agree with the Pope that the Christian God is very small. Please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around, there's more show coming up.
Well, Frank,
Damn!
the United States Congress, and that's this United States, the one that we're in, just passed a bill to make sure that gay marriages stay legal, regardless of what a rogue Supreme Court decides they end up wanting to do.
Correct, yeah.
So that's nice. That's really great.
It feels good. As a married gay, it feels like it's what I was always happy that the Supreme Court had made their decision, right?
Yeah.
But a little bothered that we couldn't get there legislatively, right?
Yeah.
And we got there legislatively. Which is great. And there's these religious concessions that were made, right? That really are, best I can tell, for nothing. So
You say it's for nothing, but I'll tell you what. Representative Vicky Jo Hartzler of Missouri's 4th Congressional District did not think it was nothing.
Oh, geez. Okay.
She very famously took to the House floor to passionately defend religion and to talk about how awful it was that, religion wasn't going to get to be a little bit more bigoted. To how, there's a shrinking amount of bigotry that's being allowed in this country, and it's not acceptable.
Okay.
She literally started crying on the floor of the House about it, which is amazing. But what's more amazing is that one of the responses to this outburst of hers was her own gay nephew, who took to TikTok.
Oh boy.
To talk about Aunt Vicky. So I thought I'd just play what he put out there.
Today, a United States Congresswoman, my Aunt Vicky, started crying because gay people like me can get married.
I hope and pray that my colleagues will find the courage to join me in opposing this misguided and this dangerous bill. I yield back.
So, despite coming out to my aunt this past February, I guess she's still just as much as a homophobe.
Let's be clear. Obergefell is not in danger, but people and institutions of faith are.
Aunt Vicky, that's not right. Institutions of faith like religious universities are not being silenced. They're being empowered by the US government to discriminate against tens of thousands of LGBTQ students because of religious exemptions, but they still receive federal funding.
The bill's implications: submit to our ideology or be silenced.
It's more like you want the power to force your religious beliefs onto everyone else. And because you don't have that power, you feel like you're being silenced. But you're not. You're just gonna have to learn to coexist with all of us. And I'm sure it's not that hard.
Oh, Aunt Vicky.
Aunt Vicky.
It's not that hard, Aunt Vicky.
I think someone here needs to run against Aunt Vicky.
Yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't that be great?
It would be amazing.
Her nephew gets up and just gaze up the whole election. Just
It's like,
yeah.
Anyway, vote out Aunt Vicky.
He seems cute.
Yeah, anyway.
Aunt Vicky seems she seems like a peach.
Yeah.
And by the way, if everyone doesn't start calling her Aunt Vicky from now on, I will be very disappointed. If people continue to call her Representative Hartzler instead of Aunt Vicky, I am going to be very upset.
That's funny.
Anyway, we had some folks communicate with us, or at least I thought we'd read this one. This is from Alexandra, who wrote in to say, "Hey, Frank and Dan, this is you'll recall that we talked about Lyft and Uber drivers sharing their Jesus preachings.
Oh,
with
yeah.
their captive audience.
Oh, golly.
In the car." Alexandra says, "Oh, and by the way, she's going to be making some references that you may not recognize. You'll recall that last week I quoted from one of my favorite movies, The Court Jester. If something sounds like you don't understand what she's saying, it's probably just a little nod to a mutual love of a film. So that's that." Alexandra says, "I absolutely agree that preaching at your Lyft or Uber rider is absolutely horrific, and I'd rather marry Griswold than be forced to sit through that. But it goes the other way too. I spent a few years driving for Lyft and Uber to supplement my income, and eventually, as my only income for a few months, I often had passengers try to talk to me about religion, and I felt I couldn't ask them to stop for fear of a low rating that could jeopardize my income. Sure, drivers can rate a passenger low as well, but losing the convenience to ride in a Lyft or Uber is nowhere near as bad as losing your source of income.
Yeah.
So I would grin and bear it, and then rate them low enough to never get them as a passenger again. Not surprisingly, the ones who were always trying to talk religion were never the tipping kind." Yeah, that's definitely not surprising. Oh my God. Why are they such cheapskates? Literally, giving was the whole message. Okay, I won't get into it. In other jobs I have faced preaching too, she says, like when I was an overnight manager at a grocery store, there was a delivery driver who had to be in his 80s that would give me a religious tract and invited me to his church every time he saw me. Plus, he was always extremely condescending and sexist to me. Well, there's another shock.
Yeah.
A Christian who's sexist and condescending? Impossible! Yeah, she goes on. I think that this is a great point about being captive in your job, because that's another place where Christians feel totally free to just assault you with their religion, and they know you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's sick.
They know that if you tell them off or whatever, you could get fired. So that sucks. That sucks. I mean, I wish I knew what to tell our Lyft and Uber drivers who are in that scenario. I don't know what to do other than to play your music louder or something.
Yeah, that is a tough one, isn't it? Change the subject somehow.
Yeah, take a hard right both in the car and in the subject matter. Jar them physically and then change it. Oh, I'm so sorry. There was a pothole. I'm so sorry about that. Hey, did you know that this building over here was built by blah, blah, blah? Make something up. Just make it up. Just tell them fake facts
to
get them away from talking about Jeebus.
But you got to do whatever you can here. It's your own sanity.
Yeah, but it's absolutely true that, like, yeah, if your income depends on it,
Yeah.
You're going to let them talk probably because the last thing you want is those rating. It's not like the algorithm cares why they rated you a 1 star.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not unlike our position where people literally come to our, they Google or they search atheism or atheist in their podcast, player just to give us a 1-star review.
Yeah.
I think that's great. What a fun thing for them to do. So always good if you are listening on something that has a review that's reviewable to throw us 5 stars. Look, even if you think we're a 3-star show, chuck us 5 stars just to counter the 1-star reviews that aren't fair.
Absolutely.
Be unfair in the other direction. It's fine. No God will be mad at you for lying that we're better than we actually are.
Jesus.
All right. Well, we had some folks. We have some folks to thank.
We do, Dan.
And I'm gonna start us off. Thanks so much to Matthew, who is now a deacon over on PayPal. Susan, who is also a deacon now on PayPal. Thanks to Elka for a one-time donation. We'll call you a deacon as well. And thanks to Peggy, who is now a teacher.
Nice.
You guys are all. These are the magic powers that we're bestowing on you, as former magic power holders ourselves. That ours is the official magic powers from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But we can bestow like whatever level of magic we want to.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right.
And you've got somebody to thank.
We do indeed, Dan. We have 2 new patrons over on Patreon. We've got 2 new priests, actually. We have Heather and Squirrels. So thank you so much to the both of you.
Small woodland donors are my favorite donors. Little critters are delightful, so that's great. Thank you guys so much. If you would like to join these fine people in helping us keep this show running, helping the lug nuts not fall off of the show, please feel free to go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com. Click on the Support Us tab. Go to either the PayPal or the Patreon. If you're on Patreon, there are some extra things. There's the Frank and Dan diary that you can get at a certain level that's available to you. So and we are so appreciative of all of our donors.
And as always, Dan, there's our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
Well, Frank,
Dan,
we meant to say it at the beginning of the show. You're under the weather, Frank. I'm so sorry.
Oh my God, am I?
So if we're not quite at our tip-top peak performance levels, blame virus in Frank's body.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, and sorry if you happen to hear a lozenge clicking around on my teeth at some point during the show.
No lozenge clicking.
Oh my God.
Be a professional, goddammit.
Oh, I'm trying, Dan. I've been down for the count for days now, so but anyway.
Yeah, it's been rough.
Yeah.
It's been rough. Here's the thing. We talked about it a little bit earlier. The drag queen thing is befuddling Americans across our nation.
I'm befuddled.
Men walking around in glorious dresses with immaculate hairstyles and
Makeup.
just wildly creative fashion.
Yeah.
Makeup.
Yeah.
It is, you would think it was the end of days with the way people are responding.
Which is what I find befuddling. I don't get the reaction. It's
right.
It's wild. It's a style of performance. It's a kind of performance.
And also, literally no one's making you watch it.
Yeah.
You can just go away
Yeah.
and you'll be fine. But as we've talked about, that's a bit of a straw person argument, because what they're actually saying is that these people are grooming the kids and blah 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 blah. So obviously, so HBO, in an attempt, I think, to capitalize on this on this hatred, has created a show called We're Here.
Yeah.
Which basically takes 3 drag queens, relatively famous drag queens who've been on RuPaul's Drag Race and everything. Those queens are Eureka O'Hara, Shangela, and Bob the Drag Queen. Which, by the way, Bob the Drag Queen just wins as a drag name. There's just nothing you can do about it. Although I came up with a funny drag name just last night.
Oh, really?
If I were to go into drag, I'm a little older. I'm a little old for drag. I've done it, but whatever. Antacid would be my drag name. Anyway, so these
That shouldn't make me
drag
laugh
queens,
so hard, but I want to see the getup. I want to see,
right?
how do you use Tums,
Yeah, you gotta go psychedelic because of acid. You gotta go auntie. You gotta figure out a way to incorporate that, and then you gotta do you gotta get a Tum thing in there somewhere.
Well, so you're an auntie, right? So you use a roll of Tums as curlers, right? So
there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Something like that.
And everything's in Pepto Pink.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, these 3 drag queens are sent into small towns that have look, every small town has LGBTQ people in it.
Yes.
But they don't all feel empowered to be themselves, and they frequently don't feel empowered. And the whole point of this show is that these 3 drag queens go in, they are larger than life.
Yeah.
They are larger than the minds of the small town people.
Right.
And they just give a little bit of empowerment. They recruit sort of LGBTQ people from this small community to do a drag show with them.
Yeah.
They don't have to be drag queens themselves. They just have to be, it is just a moment of over the top empowerment is what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
And in they came this, in the most recent episode, to St. George, Utah, which is the sort of, what is it? It's a small city, a big town. I don't know what it is.
It's the biggest thing for quite some distance, right?
Indeed.
It's out in the middle of nowhere, and it's where you're going to find, I don't know, do they have a Costco? But that's what
they do.
They do. Okay. So
I frequently fuel up at the Costco there when I'm on my way to better places.
Okay. All right. But it is, it's a old Mormon outpost.
Yeah.
That has grown. It's one of the, it's a very quickly growing area. They're adding a lot of people.
It's true.
And it's just horrid. I don't want to shit on St. George.
A lot of snowbirds from Salt Lake City go and have a winter home down there because it's intolerable in the summer. But here's the thing about St. George. It's small town mentality, growing city vibe. It is they're gonna bump into some problems, and the LGBTQ community is one of the problems that they are contending with. So it seems like a natural place for HBO to send their drag squad in. And in they went. There was also recently a production of Rent that was canceled because it was too gay for them or whatever. I mean, honestly, Rent, how far behind the time? It just feels like, come on, we're well past Rent. Cancel Avenue Q. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so in they go. This is HBO. They're going to do everything correctly by the book, straight down the line. So they got permits to do their drag show in a public space, in the big public square. And you know, they had it all lined up. Everything was ready to go. And then they find, and here's the other thing. These drag queens go into this town and are greeted with nothing but friendliness.
Right.
Smiles all around. One of them actually deigned to poke her head. This was probably a very bad idea. Poke her head into the visitor center at the St. George Mormon Temple.
Yeah.
Where she was invited in.
Yeah.
And then
the camera doesn't
almost
follow, but like she's mic'd so you can hear what's going on. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they threaten her with like a 30-minute instructional video on who the Mormons are, to which she was like, no, thank you, and scurried out as quickly as she could and was like, oh my God, girl, you do not know what just happened to me. It was a very funny little moment where she looked like she had seen a ghost. She looked like the devil had tried to tempt her in that moment.
But the point is, nobody chased her out.
No,
They
not at all.
were just
She
like,
was-
oh, of course, let's have a conversation about God and Jesus, and let's show you a
Right.
little film. And she's decked out head to toe, right? In an elaborate,
in full
ridiculous
drag ridiculousness.
Yeah. And so
So the thing that they learned when they were there is that they did, I just don't think they were prepared for how passive Mormon aggression is. Because
it's the
the
pacifist.
aggression's there, but it ain't to your face.
Not at all.
So after all of these cheerful people, like being all sweet and kind to them, to their faces, the city council in the background, led by a young member of city council, a young woman, they were working to pull their permits, to try and get rid of their permits. So much so that they demanded that the city manager pull the permits, and he didn't.
Right.
This is a guy named Adam Leonard, who very appropriately knew that like they would just be exposing themselves to big lawsuits. And frankly, HBO's got lawyers.
Right.
So and that's just free publicity for HBO. Like suing the city of St. George and burying them in lawsuits would be nothing but upside for HBO. So this city manager refused to pull the permits and gave them, and was forced to resign.
Unreal. But then didn't he
which is
win
crazy.
some lawsuit against the city for wrongful termination? Or
Yeah, there was
got
a settlement,
settlement?
and somebody leaked how much it was. It was like it was a lot. Where was it? I've got it here. So I've got like 4 articles open about the whole thing. But yeah, he actually this worked out great for him, which I'm so happy about. He got like $500,000 or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I want to say
Anyway.
650,000, but
Yeah, $625,000 settlement. So great. That couldn't have worked out better for him. You and I watched the episode. It dropped last night.
yeah, I was unfamiliar with the show. I think I had seen a title card sort of whiz by on the HBO app, but I didn't know what it was, and I hadn't heard anything about it. Like I tend to I watch what's buzzy. I'm that person, right? I don't explore a lot on the apps, but hadn't heard anything about it until now, and I watched it. Yeah, it's a cute show. And the thing that I really responded to is just having cameras pointed at the I did this last week too. LGBTQIA plus community experience in small town America.
Yeah.
Is huge. The visibility is huge. It's validating for people who are in another small community who feel
100%.
alone. It's people. It used to be that if you wanted to live out and queer, you had to go to the coasts and a big city on the coasts. And that's just it. That's all you had going for you. And except for a few minor examples scattered about the country. But and now people are staying put in large numbers in their small communities, and they're out, they're visible, you know.
It's kind of inspiring.
It's really
scary.
inspiring. Yeah, I'm concerned for them, but at the same time, I think it's great, and I think that the show serves a really good purpose. Its existence, I think, is a really good thing.
Well, and
I am not the target audience though for this show.
Right.
It was not my cup of tea, really. But I liked my hour and 15 minutes. That was a little long for me for an episode of TV, especially one that I wasn't fully enjoying. But the stories were sweet and the people were sweet, and the drag queens I thought did a great job with like connecting and trying to inspire people to live big and proud.
And the creativity of the fashion is delightful.
For sure.
It ends with the big drag show going forward, and these non-performers, these people who are just community members trying to get by in their lives.
Yeah.
They're not drag performers. Drag is hard. People don't know. These performances are not easy.
Right.
And so, they're not great performers, but there's something wonderful about the performance.
Yeah.
There's something just pure and sweet and good. And
when they run them through some dance steps, like they teach them some moves, and they're up there and they're doing them. And they're not professional dancers, but
they've got HBO money. So like these outfits are stunning. They do some cool stuff with the with the clothes and whatever, and the makeup and the hair. But it is interesting. So that's what we're up against. This is the culture war now. Apparently, this is our big culture war. It's shocking to me that something as stupid as drag, which I admit I'm with you. It doesn't speak to me very much.
Yeah,
it's not something that I can see why people love it.
Yeah,
but it's not something that I'm that into.
Yeah.
But it is decidedly harmless.
Yeah. And that's what you mean by stupid, right? You don't mean that you're not being dismissive of it.
No, I'm not. Like drag as a concept isn't stupid. Thinking that drag is dangerous is stupid. Like the mindset that like there's something awful happening because these men or people, or not men are putting on clothes that aren't meant for them, and they're dancing around, they're parading around,
right?
You guys can just calm the fuck down right now.
Yeah, I don't want this to come off like the wrong way or anything, but like for me, like I look at drag. I think I've even said something like this on the show before. There's gender performance going on. That's the whole thing, right? Like that's the basis of drag, is you're performing, and there are actually other kinds of drag that aren't even like about gender, but the kind that everybody's up in.
I think it's moving past that a little bit now.
The kind of drag that everybody's all upset about is this gender performance. But I look at it and I'm like, it's such this exaggerated version of gender, right? Which is an interesting thing to do, right? That it's almost not even gender. I don't see much that's recognizably male or female in the drag queen or drag king performances, right?
Yeah.
It's this super exaggerated thing that is entertaining. It's meant to be entertaining. It's meant to be fun.
Yeah.
And it's just a big, crazy performance. Like and We're Here does a really good job of this, but like other movies or movies, I guess I should say, that have delved into this that I'm familiar with, like Priscilla, Queen of the Desert and Tu Wong Fu. Like those outfits are so over the top and just crazy. That's the fun, right?
Yeah.
Is how ridiculous it is from my perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
What they're celebrating is going so big on something that, that no one can have anything to say about it. They are, it's, the go big or go home mentality writ as largely as possible.
Yeah. It's like operatic divas, right? Like,
yes.
It's just so huge. The any emotion that's being expressed also you cannot miss.
Right.
Like everything is just big and in your face. I don't get what's objectionable. Like I know we've gone around and round on this, but like I don't get it, right? So okay, so maybe there's a little bit of breast or a little bit of body. Let's just say that. A little bit of human body on display. Like, okay, right? Like even that isn't usually, it's not some shocking level or some degree that you wouldn't see at a beauty pageant that I'm sure you would be fine with your children watching, which is disgusting.
Well, and drag performers and drag venues are very clear about what is an all ages performance and what is an adults only performance. So it's not like anyone's getting exposed to anything. They're very careful
That's
about
a great
that
point.
sort of thing.
Yeah, that's actually really good to point out. Yeah.
So sometimes they will celebrate the sexual or the body and the body,
right?
The BAWDY, but they draw very strict lines about who sees what, and they're very they want to protect the kids, every bit as much as everyone else does.
Absolutely. But here's one that I think is I was a little bothered by the fact that the show starts and a TVMA rating comes on. And so I'm now thinking that this is going to be a show for mature audiences, right?
Right.
What needed to be, what about it was mature audiences? I didn't hear any language.
I'm pretty sure they just drop an F-bomb every now and then.
Do they? Was there language?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear the language.
That's all it is.
That's how far gone I am. I didn't even notice they were saying the fuck word.
No, why would you? It's stupid. Who cares about language?
I like honestly, the F word should be TV 14 at this point.
100%.
Yeah, that's a different discussion. But
yeah.
But yeah, it's it was interesting to watch little St. George on display.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it didn't come off well. Didn't do great as a city.
No. Oh God, they got as many shots of the temple and Mormon churches in there as they possibly could, though, which was fun.
But they did say, it's funny because one of the producers did mention that they had trouble finding people to be on to be hateful on camera. They found one dude who said that, and literally he said that drag represents something like that, what's going to be the end of our country or whatever.
Right.
But they had, unlike other parts of the country, they had trouble finding people who were willing to go to be hateful on camera. So good job, Mormons. Your passive aggressive streak continues. And there you go. All right. Well, if you have anything you'd like to add to this conversation, please feel free to do so. Write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click on that like button.
And if you'd like to join one of our members-only lounges, Go to thankgodimatheist.com/members only. There's some options there.
Yeah, thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their fine music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks to all y'all for tuning in. We really appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.